Welcome back, ladies and gents, to history being made right now here at the Garena Varsity League. And man, oh man, we just came from...
Still reeling from that last game.
Yeah, I'm still trying to digest everything. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. Game 1 earlier, of course, we were heading into Game 2 between UST Teletigers versus AMA Retaliate. But before we get into that, we're going to be your caster for today. I'm Arctic, and of course, with me is Atlas. And yeah, I just can't get over it because not only is history being made right now, but we got a great Game 1, calm before the storm. The fiesta happened, as Atlas was said earlier. But aside from that, the first pentakill as well. First game of the LVL, and we get our first pentakill.
I mean, it's very understandable that there was a pentakill because it was a late game Tristana with a very good support system being made with a good front line to engage for that Tristana. And definitely... going from that Game 1, there's a lot of takeaways that both teams can get from it. And they can both learn and they can both adapt because we're going to get the second game of this match. So far, UST Teletigers has 1 win. And this is different from the PGS. If they get another win against Retaliate, they still only get 2 points. So it's not as snowbally. And now AMA. But AMA still wants to win this because every game counts.
Indeed.
So... definitely, they have to be very, very careful in how they play it. So, of course, we'll be looking at how the pioneers of the LoL Varsity League made an effort to improve and actually build up on their campus collegiate esports. We'll see what they have to say.
We had 2 goals. The goal of winning the 2nd championship for University of Santo Tomas and the growth of the match in esports in general. For the past few seasons, it's been hard for University of Santo Tomas. The other teams inside the conference became much stronger after the first season of LCL, and we saw growth in them but not growth in us. And I think the growth of the match in esports, what hindered it the most was the lack of organization.
Kami ng napakadaming lessons from our mistakes, and we pursue a lot of team spread, we practice, and we try to improve every single day.
When I first heard about LVL a few months ago, I thought the concept was pretty interesting, and it was something I wanted to get on board immediately. So the idea of having League of Legends as a varsity sport, trying to push for more integration in regards to collegiate league, as well as trying to build some infrastructure around the league rather than just having a team, was something very something I care about a lot, seeing as I've played as a professional player in the past, and those were things that I found to be a problem. So
I believe it's something game-changing because it's not something you see every day. Like, esports isn't accepted yet, but so many people do it that it's almost as good as a normal sport.
So we have our thoughts from the pioneers of the LVL, and this is where it all starts building up from the very first day. And our first match is still going to be UST Teletigers versus AMA QC Retaliate. And looking at our bans here, very standard bans as well. AMA banning out Tristana out of respect. That's the only ban that was changed from last game. And as for UST and AMA, they'll be picking up 2 Enchanter supports for their very first picks.
Man, there we go. So bans and picks being thrown out. You know, no dilly-dally, shilly-shally whatsoever. Players are going to get right into it. But yeah, quick recap as to what happened. Shen, Caitlyn, Ezreal going to be banned out, as well as the Maokai, Tristana, Kha'Zix, now the Galio, as well as the Jace.
Adaptive ban from last game.
Yeah.
Galio banned out against UST. Jace, UST does not want AMA to pick up the Jace from last game. The Cho'Gath had presented a lot of problems for Carrots as well. Orianna banned out so as to not have too much engage and utility for UST. If AMA locks in this orange, it's going to be very, very interesting. But so far, what is common for this first rotation of picks: Enchanter support, engage, and high ganking potential jungler, as well as an 80 carry that isn't too adept in the early game. But however, Varus does have a pretty good early game if he has a little support that he needs.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go ahead and see if AMA can execute in this case, because, okay, so for UST,
Corki goes through, possibly. It was banned last game, but now it seems like UST will get their hands on it.
man, speaking of Porky, I mean, looking at if this is a lock-in, it's insane. I couldn't even imagine just how crazy the damage output is going to be from UST. I mean, with these supports like Karma and Lulu, like in the previous patch, you'd think that, oh, you know, these guys, they get great utility, they have some decent work, but now, with the changes, with the preseason, with the runes, not only do they have great utility, but they themselves kind of have a little bit more pain up their sleeves. So
definitely, especially these enchanter supports, the shields with Summon Airy. I'm pretty sure that both Crescio and Kenfrost will be picking up Summon Airy. It's such a good rune for these enchanter supports, and the shields will just go up so much. And in poking in lane and in the mid game, they will hurt, especially if they have that rune that gives them more AD and AP as the game goes.
oh wow,
That is a possibility, but looking as the games in collegiate level seem to be very fast, I don't think they're going to be picking up that mastery, but this could change. That last game was 40 minutes.
So there you have it, guys. We have our lineups locked in right now for both UST Tigers as well as AMA Retaliate. So for both sides, it's interesting to note that there will be no substitutions.
Yeah.
Both teams will be sticking with their players as is. And, you know, I think it's a great move because you don't really need to fix something that's not really broken. And from what I see here, both teams really performed in that game.
It's just that UST was able to snowball once they found a lead. AMA picking up the Ornn against Cell's Gnar. I think Ornn might have a little of a hard time against Gnar being whittled down by the Hyper.
Right.
But once the late game comes, he has more reliability in terms of the CC compared to Gnar. You can just go in and interrupt a team fight with the Charge of the Forge God, being able to just disrupt so much, especially combined with Sejuani.
Overall, with the compositions locked in right now, I'm definitely expecting a lot of proactivity once again from UST Tigers. I think earlier it was a clear demonstration of skill that game one. If anything, that game could have gone much more shorter had they not had that slip up earlier on. But with this right now, I think that was a great learning lesson to them. You know, it's this opening day for LVL. It's kind of like breaking the ice, and I think going into this game too, both teams are much more comfortable now. So I think some of the errors that we've seen during game one would probably be much more lessons now that the pre-game jitters are kind of out there now. You know, both teams just kind of raring to go.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a little bit more bold. Look at their picks here. They have an assassin. They have 280 carries on the side of UST. They're picking up Ornn on the top side for AMA, and of course to break the ice, they have Sejuani right there.
Break the ice. I like that little subtle.
It's not that subtle.
Not that subtle.
It's not that subtle, but I do think
passable,
that
though.
This is going to be quite an explosive match here. I do think that bot side is going to be the difference in the bot side here is that Carrots and Crescio are picking up heal and exhaust, while Kenfrost and Relapse are going with a barrier and heal. So of course Relapse and Kenfrost will have a lot more survivability in lane. If they get into an all-in, they're quite survivable, especially if Babyface ganks them, because Babyface is running the Electrocute once again. Electrocute plus Resolve, actually, compared to the J4 earlier in the last game, which went Electrocute plus Precision. Now it's a good mix of Bruiser runes to be able to get really good ganks on while still scaling up properly into the mid game and late game.
So there you have it, folks. Once again, I know a lot of supporters out there for both UST and AMA. I mean, who wouldn't? I think especially, with the LCL, it was clear that there were a lot of students supporting their respective alma maters. But I think with LVL, it's a whole new level because we're looking at a varsity league right now. So, in comparison to the LCL, wherein it's pretty much anybody can join. As long as you have 5 members coming in from school, you meet the requirements, you're good to go. For the LVL, which isn't bad, definitely. But what I really like about the LVL, it's like a heightened process where not all schools can just join. There's a whole series of things that you need to go through to actually qualify, and the fact that these 7 teams made the cut basically, I think that's a huge accomplishment in itself to pioneer such a momentous thing in the history for collegiate esports. But of course, looking at things right now, we have both sides once again, both UST as well as AMA. Let's go ahead and see how things will go down. Will Tigers lead and forge their own destiny with a 2-0, or will AMA, true to their name, retaliate forcing it into a 1-1 to even things out. You know, really anticipating to see how this will go for both sides. So we're just gonna have to wait once we hit into the game, and looks like di natin patatagalin yon as we head into what is Game 2 between UST Teletigers versus AMA University QC. Retaliate. Will they retaliate? Will they live true to their name? Let's go ahead and see, my friends.
Let's see. UST just crouching like tigers around this bot side of the jungle. Just guarding the entrances of their territory. Don't want AMA to get a really good foothold, especially with the new runes possible. Ghost wards can actually pop up, and that means that the vision in the jungle, if they let AMA invade into their territory, if either of these teams let the other invade into their territory and get some early vision in, the ghost wards can be really potent in learning information where either Babyface or Zoe will be.
Let's go ahead and look out how things will play out for UST. I mean, it's clear from the earlier game, one person that you really want to look out for, in my opinion, is definitely Carrots. In both a positive and maybe potentially a not so positive way. Positive in the sense that we've seen just how potent he is as a marksman for UST. But at the same time, we have seen those small misplays every now and then where Rema gets a big misplays, as Atlas said, where he gets a little bit too aggressive. So hopefully this is a correction.
He's a very aggressive and erratic AD carry, a marksman, that's to be sure. But here he's playing Twitch, who is slippery like Tristana in a different way. He doesn't have the same luxury of rocket jumping, resetting all over the place. So
I
now
hope
he
he
has
doesn't
to be
sneak
a
in.
lot more careful.
Hopefully not. But yeah, I mean, at least that's something that's off the board for him. But yeah, one thing that kind of interests me is that UST, they have this configuration wherein, if you notice earlier, Sarah, in a way, even with his range damage, he could go in as well. But as a Corki, he does have a little bit more vulnerability. So he can't really go in as hard as he was on a Jace. So I think there's definitely a lot more riding on Babyface Cell as well as Crusher to an extent to grant the utility, to grant that decent front line, just so that Carrots and Sarah could maximize the damage that they can as a Corki and as a Twitch.
Both Ares just canceling each other out, but it seems like Crescio aggressively walking up to Relapse and Kenfrost so that they can get a good foothold on this lane. So right now, at level 2, without the influence of Zoe for now, because he is on the top side, they will be a little bit more defensive and allow Carrots to just push onto the lane. This could be very bad for Sarah. You see, he could be in trouble here. Oh, that good flash comes from Zoe to really finalize the permafrost, and I think this could be the first kill of the game. Shuriken takes him out. Sarah gets first blooded. All the gold goes to Niebe.
Winter is coming to Summoner's Rift, and it happened in the mid lane. Great start there for both Niebe and... yeah, I mean, so great gank right there. And I think this is one of the things that UST wants to look out for. If anything, if Niebe gets a snowball earlier on, it will be hard for Sarah and Carrots to go for that longevity in team fights if they could potentially get assassinated by a fed Niebe. That's kind of weird saying that, but yeah, it looks like we might be seeing more action though.
Really active in terms of the ganks, but he no longer has his flash, so now he just has to get out of there. Carrots running the lethal tempo here, trying to go for something, but seems like it's enough to know that Zoe is around the bot side.
Speaking of tempo, I'm glad that you brought that up, because as far as the tempo for both teams, if ever AMA could really start building up earlier on, I feel like it somewhat cancels out on some of the strengths that UST's own composition has in the earlier phases of the game, but we're just going to have to see. I think a lot of AMA's composition is riding on Niebe right now, because if he could delete some of the key carries from UST earlier on in clashes, then I feel like this could propel AMA into greater heights with this game. But then again, we have seen just how methodical UST is, especially when living up to their win conditions, so I think that's not something that AMA will reach that easily. I think, if anything, with Sarah down 1 kill, this will proc him into a position where he's going to play things a little bit more calculated, a little bit more safer.
It's going to depend on how the mid-game team fights happen as well, because, oh, look at that aggressiveness come from Carrots. It's a mistake, though, because he should not have expected to get that kill because of the heal up for Kenfrost, as well as summon Airy, giving an even more powerful shield once help picks goes on to Relapse.
So let's just go ahead and see how this will ultimately... yeah, a little bit weird. And, I mean, it's not a rocket jump. That's a pretty heavy cooldown once that's down. And I think that will be a little bit trickier for both Carrots and Cresho here.
They're
Because,
really pressing the assault, however.
That's pretty good. But yeah, they have to be a bit more careful because in this sense, take note, Relapse still flash up for him, and we have seen just how proactive this Sejuani has been for AMA across the map. And with a flash down for Carrots, they have to be a little bit more safer. Not just Carrots, but the two key carrots for UST, in my opinion, both have to play a little bit more safer in this early game.
But so far, Sarah not missing a beat in terms of CS. He's still going for it quite well. Babyface looking for an opportunity to help out his lanes. However, seems right now Niebe as well as the bot lane of Emi are quite at a safe position, and it's quite hard to gank an Ornn, a very naturally tanky champion, as a burst champion like Jarvan.
And looks like they're just kind of geeking out. But these are two tanky champs. But Falcata dealing quite the damage himself. Take note though, he is lower in terms of mana, so can't really go full on in to deal as much damage as he may have wanted on the cell. But wow, Sarah just kind of rolling with the punches here as Niebe just really overwhelming.
Has to be careful because Niebe has Ignite and his Death Mark up, so he has to be quite careful. Barrier is up, but look at that, Carrot still very aggressive, mixing it with Cresho's magic to just get a good harass onto Kenfrost. Look at him, we're already kicking red, but now I think Sarah might be in a little bit of trouble. Death Mark goes onto him, that is a lot of damage. I don't think Barrier is actually quite enough for that one. I do think that Barrier, when Death Mark gets onto you, damage that gets absorbed by shield does not count. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, leading towards the overall damage, right? So yeah, that's actually a good thing to note for Sarah here. But overall, does manage to survive.
Look at that, Carousel going for something. I think he will fall onto this one. Cresho now left alone 2v1 and gets taken down by Kenfrost.
Okay, this is something that USD has to be a little bit more careful with. And this just only increases just how potent AMA could be going on later into these clashes. And if the key carries from USD aren't up to par with the damage that they could dish out, then I think it's all about AMA managing to pull the trigger first and just overwhelm it. It looks like
in trouble. He is quite tanky. Can just denied of the blast cone, but I think he can still go over. He has flashed a little bit, but I do think that's Babyface successfully defending his red buff.
Carrot's only just returning to lane right now. That could have been a little bit more trickier had that Twitch been up, but looks like that isn't the case for this game though. So everything is safe and sound thus far, but still it is worth noting that that 3 kills is definitely a good kick up for AMA University right now.
That could lead to a 1-1 if it goes well for AMA, but they have to play this quite well. Niebe needs to continue snowballing. He already has a little pile of snow from the 1 kill he got earlier. However,
yeah, it's not even intentional.
If he's not able to get more kills from that initial one, then he's going to taper off as Cresho participates in the fights, shields the carries from his assassination, as Sarah's able to Valkyrie away once everyone else Excel is able to frontline very well. Niebe will slowly become less powerful if he doesn't continue his assault on the rest of the lanes of UST. He has to transition this into roams, into more solo kills against Sarah, and I think Zoe has to be a part of empowering him.
Ooh, one interesting to note though, if you look at the itemization for Falcata, this is actually one of the advantages of being an Ornn, especially when you're up against a composition that doesn't really dish out AP. So the tankier, the more armor that he builds up, even with the hefty damage as a result of the preseason changes, he's just going to be able to withstand a lot of that, especially as an Ornn, where he does have that one skill where he cancels out quite a lot of that damage.
Yeah, he does have the Fire Breath.
There you go.
That actually just gives him quite a potent shield, and it actually gives him so much health, while the Bellows Breath, rather, gives him a lot of shielding while giving him potent damage because it makes enemies brittle. So once he whacks them with his hammer, that deals a lot of percentage health damage. So they have to be very careful as well.
Oh, man. This is just so... Every time I think that something's going to happen, I have to keep reminding myself, oh yeah, these are 2 tankier members. But I think Falcata definitely has quite the damage to dish out. Now that he could resist a little bit more of the damage coming in from Cell, he does have Ninja Tabi up. Will potentially be leaning towards a Thornmail as well, which will be quite beneficial, especially when you're up against a Corki and a Twitch in this game.
Falcata is practically immune to gank from Babyface.
Right, interesting to note, Niebe has already completed his Dusk Blade of
That's
Jack
going to be
Star.
strong, definitely strong, combined with Electrocute. His precision, his investment into a little bit precision in the minor runes will give him a lot more damage combined with the Dusk Blade. If he has cut down, or actually no, coup de grace, if he has coup de grace, then that's just going to make his assassinations much, much easier.
I think going into these team fights later on with Niebe in this state, I feel there's a lot more riding on the protection coming in from Thresho, because later on in this game, the more Niebe builds up, especially if he snowballs, although so far it's been a little bit more silent for Niebe at this point, but still, if once he starts building up, Sarah's barrier won't be enough. Yeah, pretty much. And overall, that barrier won't be enough later on going into these clashes. I feel like at some point, Thresho as well will need to grant that utility, not just onto Sarah, but even onto Carrots as well. Both champions will really need to rely on this Karma to grant them that protection, just so that, if not prevent an assassination, at least just try to hold off as much damage as they can, so just so that they don't get taken down by Niebe, because Niebe alone is a force to be reckoned with against these Corki and Twitch. In fact, probably the worst nightmare possible for these two champions going into these clashes later on.
Especially this Twitch, Karras needs to be a lot more careful. He has to always save his flash when late game comes, so he's not immediately decimated and eviscerated by Niebe.
I love the fact that Sarah makes a proactive move to build up on Ninja Tabi, although at the same time, we are about 11 minutes into the game, and he's only managed to build up a Phage, so this is definitely going to be a slow build up towards that Trinity Force, and that's the tricky part. That's a very key core item for Corki, and until such time that he builds up on that, I don't think we'll be seeing as much from Sarah within these next few minutes, especially if AMA decides to be much more proactive and force fights against them.
And they definitely do have to be more proactive. Now that Zoe, he's been over level 6 for a while, he needs to find a way to make use of his ultimate.
Whew. Still, we're sitting at the 0-3. Things have kind of calmed down ever since that.
I think they're setting up something around mid lane. Circling around the brush here, putting down some vision implies that maybe Zoe could try to go for something to help out Niebe. There's a little bit of control around the jungle side.
Man, oh man, looking at our score right now, still very much, we've reached a point where it's very stagnant. If anything, I was actually expecting a lot more proactivity coming in from Zoe, but
it's much more controlled right now.
Yeah, it's a very much not the fiesta that we were expecting. But then again, this is the LVL, so it's much more, higher expectations.
They learned a bit from the last game.
Yeah.
Or it could just be like the last game where it's kind of calm.
Calm before the storm again.
And then once the tequila comes going in, the fiesta happens. But of course, it seems like AMA might actually be taking this bot side turret quite quickly. They're slowly whittling it down with the pressure that they have, because they have barrier and heal. They're quite survivable. So Carrots and Thresho can't really all in on them, and they're using this to slowly whittle down that bot side turret. And they're having quite a little trouble there when it comes to Zoe as well. So actually just pushes them away with his ultimate. He dodges the call of the Forge God. Very well played by Cell right there.
Called the Forge God as well as a Glacial Prison, but could have been a death for Cell, just kind of weaving around all these ultimates. Very well played.
He dodged both the initial charge backwards and then the redirect coming from Falcata. He also dodged the Glacial Prison as well.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. And,
but that's two big cooldowns off for AMA. Zoe has less ganking potential right now. This could be an opportunity for Babyface or Sarah to actually roam around.
If anything, one of the things that I would love to see coming in from UST, because earlier on, the ultimate coming in from Orin does have a little bit of a higher cooldown, but later on in the game, almost less than a minute.
It's actually almost halfway done.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that they have to take into account, because that Ram is just going to keep on coming. So we're just going to have to see, though. And
I do think this is because Falcata is running minor and inspiration. So
Yes.
he could be running an extra 5% CDR. If Babyface a little bit of trouble. Look at all that burst damage. It goes to Niebe. That's going to set him up for more kills later in the game as he translates that 300 gold into another longsword probably.
Oh, goodness.
That is going to be a Cloud Rake, and it can be useful. It could be useful for helping Zoe roam around more, and Niebe to actually roam around and kill and influence the other lanes.
Yes, this will grant him a little bit more potential to assassinate this target.
Volcanic Rupture takes Cell out. That is quite an aggressive move coming from Falcata. It actually pays off.
And I think just in the nick of time wherein he's pretty much out of mana, so very well calculated right there from AMA's top laner. And overall, 0 and 5, a great start for AMA Retaliate. You know, and I'm just going to have to see if UST, you know, I think they could allow themselves this disadvantage earlier on because they are technically still trying to build up to
they
their
have
full
280
items.
carries.
Yeah.
And this is actually one of the weaknesses of these this 280 carry composition is that it takes a little bit to build up, especially if you have a Twitch around and a Corki still needs to build onto his Triforce. And this just means that Niebe has a little bit of a soft time before Sarah and Karis are able to fight back against his assassinations. And he has to exploit that. He has to roam to other lanes. He has to either continue his assault on Sarah to continue being relevant. And right now, he's definitely relevant.
Oh yeah, definitely. And overall, I think, especially for our audience, this doesn't necessarily put UST in a situation where they're at a disadvantage. This is somewhat what you'd expect of their composition. In fact, it could have gone way worse had they not played their cards as well.
It could have been worse, could have been better sort of situation right now.
But overall, there is still that factor that AMA has to consider, wherein later on this game goes, that also gives a lot more opportunity for UST to build up towards their own form of retaliation against AMA. But still, look at Falcata. Man.
Very, very tanky. I think building into the Frozen Mallet first means that Cell absolutely cannot fight Falcata. If he had gone like a Black Cleaver build first, then it would have been very potent against this high armor Ornn. But for now, it seems like he's going for the Frozen Gauntlet, maybe to try and influence other lanes if he teleports. But for now, it seems like they're still going to try and demolish this turret.
Yeah, definitely.
So trying to go for something.
I like that AMA slowly starting to build up on momentum, trying to take as much as they can from UST, knowing very well. Looks like Trinity Force has already been completed for Sarah, finally. So this would potentially grant them a little bit more form of retaliation against AMA, but still, we will have to see. It depends on how these team fights play out.
They're building up a very rich lead in terms of gold. AMA so far, 5,000 gold at 18 minutes, quite decent. And here they're in a position to take Rift Herald. It seems like USD might want to contest it. The teleport goes in. Babyface trying to go for something here. Zoe might be killed before anything, but Babyface himself is very low, and the Rift Herald is wailing on him. But look at that, Sarah dealing so much damage. Niebe actually takes out Babyface. Sarah now finally takes down the enemy, and now is going to be relapse, trying to go for something. He has the lethal tempo on him from earlier. However, that is going to be the press the attack coming from the AD here. He actually takes down relapse. 2-4-4
in favor of UST. And I feel like this is one of the more notable things with the preseason changes, wherein Sejuani is one of those champions wherein, I mean, she already received quite a number of nerfs prior to heading into the preseason. Plus the fact that because of the changes with the runes, where you don't really have those flat armor, those flat magic resists you could build up along with the masteries to complement that, it does leave tankers a little bit more squishier until such time they do build up on those key items. Let's go ahead and check out what happened in the replay though. So we have a teleport coming from top laner and just a full dive in onto the members of AMA, wherein they were kind of converged on. They were caught up in such close quarters, and similar to what we saw from Relapse early on the Twitch, it did grant Carrot that opportunity to just work with the close quarters AMA members and just deal the damage that he can. But still, it is interesting to note that Falcata able to solo out Carrots, having lost out on all his mana, not really having any form of escape, and Valcata himself deals quite a number of damage as an Ornn, but still ultimately leading to the favor of UST.
This is bad for Niebe, because this means that the time where Carrots and Sarah can fight back against him, and how Cresho can just continue. Oh man, that is aggressive coming in from Sarah. Going onto Panfrost and Relapse. There is no Cataclysm, however, it's still enough damage to take him out. Zoe has the Glacial Prison, actually does not hit Sarah, but he's still trying to go in. Relapse on the assault here with his bow, and now that Niebe is here, that's a signal for Babyface and Cresho to get the heck out of there.
Okay, so that is going to be a little bit of a casualty there for Amy, but still is able to...
Yes, he's fighting back.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, ooh, Valcata though will have to back away. It's a little bit slow down there. But
he is quite tanky. And he can't survive long enough for Niebe to actually go onto Carrots. Not enough shields because Cresho has no mana. And now he's just, Niebe just gets out of there. Gets out of dodge. But here comes, look at how tanky he is. It survives long enough to take down one another of UST's laners here. Niebe falls down. It's now Zoe alone. Might be a misplay for just overcommitting on everything there. And Amy, I think, bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah, getting caught up in the Cataclysm there.
Let's see what happens in mid lane, however, because it seems like Relapse used a lot of that time. Ooh, cheeky play coming from Kenfrost, but I don't think it's enough. Relapse, I think, uses his time very well, very wisely to actually just take the second tier mid turret, which opens up the map a lot more for them.
Or I guess just enough to save him from the damage that Kenfrost could have dealt to take him down. But then again, take note, this is a tankier Jarvan before. Not really going for the damage. Will prioritize the tankiness. But yeah, the funny thing here with AMA is that they're also on a time constraint in a way that Niebe, as I said, could definitely deal quite the damage onto both Sarah and Carrots, but later on in the game, even with the damage amplification that benefits him as of the preseason patch, still, you know, Zed won't be as potent as he is within the earlier phases of the game. So that's something that they also have to put into consideration here.
And it seems like now he's a little bit more powerful with 4 kills racked up so far. But so far also UST Teletigers, a kill onto Sarah, assists onto Carrots. It's still very, very powerful. And if Niebe does not have the opportunity to actually go in on either of these 80 carries, he's going to be in a world of trouble.
As far as win conditions, definitely UST living up to them. As far, I mean, as I mentioned, could have been better, could have gone way worse, but still, so long as they're able to keep their key carries intact,
Niebe.
but Niebe...
Trying to go for something with his Yo moves.
Do you want to build a snowman? Or just going to back away.
Look at that. He's just pushing this so much. Oh, Hex Flash used by Zoe there. Trying to go for a cheeky play and maybe catch Sarah off guard. But that he is quite afraid and he's respecting the power that Niebe has currently.
Overall, I've actually been expecting a lot more snowball potential coming in from Niebe, but I think it's because UST having the restraint to not allow Niebe the opportunity to get assassination attempts on both Sarah and Carrots. I think that's very well played by UST right there because, like I mentioned, things could have gone so much worse for UST with taking out a
speed
Zed.
from Relapse. And that's not even with lethal tempo on yet.
Ooh. And it's still, we are sitting at that 8-9 right now. Small goal difference, which is somewhat irrelevant in my opinion. So, overall, we're just going to have to see how this goes down. Still very much equal in my opinion, but then again, later on this game goes, and I think UST does have it, but then again, this is somewhat reminiscent of what happened earlier for me in terms of the top laner Valcata, where he was tanky on that Shogat, he was so hard to take down, even more so now that he's on an Ornn. He's just this big meat shield for both these games.
It really depends on how well Niebe can blindside either of these 80 carries. If Cresho is not able to react fast enough to protect his 80 carries with an empowered shield with inspiration, then definitely Niebe can set up the rest of the fight, because if they're all too distracted by Niebe and they're not able to take him down, that's a lot of free damage for Relapse with the lethal tempo to just continue shooting arrows left and right. He has Ginsu, he has so much attack speed, and if he's left unchecked because Niebe is dealing so much damage as well as annoyance and distraction, then it's going to be very hard for UST. Here, UST jumps over with the lead, but I think he's going to get Permafrost down. Fire and Ice taking it down, sets it up, for a kill on Niebe, teleporting onto the mid lane to help on this fight. Seems like Sarah already got his kill here, but it seems like Falcata late to the party. It seems like Carrot's still going for something. Aggressive moves coming from Carrots, flashing onto Penfrost, and I think he's going to set up the kill onto this Ornn here. And now Niebe and Zo have to be on run. His Death Mark note is still up for Niebe, so if he can go onto either Sarah or Carrots without Thresho noticing, this could be potent, but of course he can also be engaged on by Babyface, allowing Carrots to just continue pushing this mid lane along with Sarah.
Looks like that will be another turret onto the side of UST. I like how UST, in a sense, they're playing this slowly, not surely is quite the right
They're still
phrase
fearless.
that I'm looking for. Yeah, like it's basically just keeping the chill. Like I said, they did have the luxury of concurring a few deaths given the composition that they have, and just kind of bode time for the later parts of the game wherein they really start to shine. And now that Sarah, now that Carrots have the key items that they need to really excel in these fights, I think AMA, if anything, I'm expecting, or based on their composition, I would love to see if they group up a bit more, because they do have a lot of hold to allow Niebe and Relapse to deal the damage that they can through the Sejuani, through the Ornn.
They
Still
really
waiting for that
should
big
group
team
up
fight.
a little bit now. They have a lot of control over the mid side because of the 2 turrets now. This means they should establish more vision here. Wow, Sarah burning everything to survive. But I do think the Scorch will still take him out.
Ooh, that was beautiful coming in from Niebe right there. Mid laner finally goes down. This is the place that I would have really loved to see a lot of from Niebe in the first 20 minutes. But it looks like this may be going
that
for the
play
Baron.
could possibly set up the Baron here, but UST note still has a lot of power behind them. Now that Niebe no longer has Death Mark, he can't go in as willy-nilly. Here comes Call of the Forge God. Very well placed there. Look at all of that CC. Cell does not have anyone to back him up. And look at Glacial Prison setting everything up for Relapse to just continue shooting them down. Triple kill onto this Varus, and now they can go back to their original objective, Baron.
That was awkward positioning coming in from UST. I mean, I would have understood if they got knocked up as a team that was lumped together, but the fact that they were kind of apart from each other, but still within. They were kind of exactly. They were in that one straight line to get that knockup. So let's go ahead and check out what happened here in the play. I was kind of expecting that.
This is a 4v5.
Yeah. So Zell making his way towards these 3 members right here, and look at this. 3-member knockup, even though they're not together, and still this just allows enough opportunity for AMA to get the collapse, reach the back line to take down all the members of UST. That did eventually lead to the ace. Very well played. They get a Baron as a bonus, so this is AMA going for, true to their name, the retaliation.
Stopwatch doesn't even save Carrots there. I think he should have accepted his death there and saved the stopwatch for another use. Somewhere in the game where it could actually be relevant. But right there, I think it was raised. Bruno Drake could be a consolation prize for UST, but the damage from AMA is still going to be very, very high.
I'd love to see the configuration that AMA can go for. Take note, they can't necessarily go for a split from Falcata because teleport is down for it. So if anything, I'm expecting probably they'd want to lump together, probably go for one lane as opposed to splitting, since they won't be able to get that full response from Falcata. I mean, sure, one of the advantages that Falcata has is that Ornn himself, quite tanky, deals substantial damage on the carries as well, but he is a little bit more on the slower side, and I'm not even talking about the mentality. I'm talking more about just his general movement. Where
Ornn doesn't have a lot of mobility. And he can easily be kited, especially by Gnar. But if he's able to get a good setup thanks to Zo, and actually Niebe setting up something for them by assassinating someone beforehand, then that could be going. That could go somewhere. But they still have to be very careful. Call of the Forge God and the Glacial Prison up for AMA. Their next siege here will be a very difficult one for UST. They're going to have to play around these 2 ultimates, along with Niebe right around the corner, waiting for a chance to strike. They have to be very careful, especially Karras, because Karras does not have an inherent escape mechanism like Sarah with his Valkyrie. So here, I think they have to give up this kill. Ooh, Cell, I think. I think this could be a 4v4 opportunity for UST. Look at that. Call of the Forge God hitting 3 members. Whoa. However, Karras gets a kill onto a relapse there, but that's still a lot of damage coming in from the rest of AMA.
This is what I'm talking about right here. Even though you take down relapse, just Ornn himself as well as the other
Permafrost
elements deal
ends
quite a
it.
substantial damage. And overall,
Actually,
Babyface will be able to survive this little health, but still.
Almost ends it, but this could still be the turret here.
That does end in a 4-for-1, once again in favor of
Let's see if
AMA.
Demolish actually matters.
Yeah, exactly. And this will
Oh,
be-
it
look at
actually
damage.
matters if you're a tank. If you're building highly defensively, it does help you out in that siege. So we'll see if they can get this inhibitor.
Gone are the days wherein tanks couldn't really siege, pretty much. But still, AMA definitely making great work of this inhibitor. If anything, almost all the inhibitors are down with the exception of that mid lane inhibitor. This will limit UST as far as their movement on this map.
12k gold lead as well. So right now, AMA is at the peak of power that they can get.
Indeed.
Let's break through what happened to that bot.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Babyface, not really the best person you want in Cataclysm, but still, that doesn't really necessarily stop
that was
AMA
so
from that
good.
resolve. Again, it's a beautiful move there from Falcata, managing to get the members of UST in a linear line, getting 3 members knocked up. Sure, Cataclysm was able to help get relapse, but I think UST wasn't able to estimate just what damage Ornn himself could deal, especially considering that these are
They're going
squishier
for mid
targets.
lane. They know what they want.
And they still, well, actually, no Baron up, but still, with 2 inhibitors down, that is a lot of pressure that USD has to deal with coming into their base.
We'll see what happens for this next siege on this mid lane inhibitor. Ultimate's up for everyone actually, so the next fight is going to be explosive. These two team fight compositions really want to get a chance to go ahead, but in this situation where it's a team fight versus team fight comp, a 5v5, if one of them has more gold, then it's only going to go one way. So UST needs to find a way to blindside AMA, to outplay them, but this is just so hard because AMA right now is just slowly creeping towards their Nexus turrets with their wave super minions with their Baron buff.
Ooh. AMA, all inhibitors down for USD. This may very well be the final stand should AMA decide to push for it though. USD trying to defend as hard as they can. Waves now coming in. Is AMA going to try to make a play still?
Babyface trying to go for something. He's almost Rage Cell transforms into Mega Gnar. But will it actually matter? That's actually Relapse dealing so much damage with his bow, with Kolkata being such a great frontline, blocking off Paris from dealing any damage. And this is going to be the game as Babyface is the last to fall. No members falling for AMA. The kills are 12 to 24. And this is going to be the second game of this match onto AMA. It's going to end as a 1-1 today.
Living true to their name, AMA getting the retaliation. Retaliate! AMA Retaliate getting the win against University of Santo Tomas.
That was pretty explosive as it started off calm at the start, but then it just evolved, not devolved. It evolved into that really fun fiesta of just team fights happening all around. And as Nieves started snowballing, and because he had such a good system of Zoe and the top laner, such a good tanky frontline that not only deals a lot of CC, but the damage from Permafrost and the brittleness of Bellows Breath, that actually deals so much, especially if you combine it with Sunfire Cape. So all of that, even if Relapse gets taken down, it can still deal tons of damage if left unchecked.
Man, but overall, as far as these 2 games, definitely a great showing.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, really great sign that, in fact, these games, I'm pleasantly surprised. But then again, as far as expectations, definitely lived up to. This is the LVL, so Varsity League, like I mentioned, a lot of preparation went into this.
A great sign if the first game ends in a 1-1 between a new team in the league as well as a familiar name. It means that the power levels in the league, at least so far from the first few teams we've seen, are relatively even, and that makes for great competition and really great environment for these players. We'll see how the other games go.
Yeah, so there you have it, guys. Quite explosive first match. Congratulations once again to both UST for AMA for a great showing. We'll end in 1-1, so still none is safe here in the LVL. But for the meantime, we have been your casters. I'm Arctic. With me is Atlas. This is the Garena Low Varsity League 2017 summer term. We'll be right back, but for the meantime, stay tuned.
Oh, might be killed before anything, but Babyface himself is very low, and the Rep Herald is wailing on him. But look at that, Sarah dealing so much damage. Nieve actually takes out Babyface. Sarah now finally takes down the enemy, and now is going to be Relapse trying to go for something. He has the lethal tempo on him from earlier. However, that is going to be the pressing attack coming from Babyface here. It actually takes down the call from Forge God. Very well placed there. Look at all of that CC. Cell does not have anyone to back him up. And look at Glacial Prison setting everything up for Relapse to just continue shooting them down. Triple kill onto this Varus, and now they can go back to their original. Look at all the Forge God hitting 3 members. However, Karis gets a kill onto a Relapse there, but that's still a lot of damage coming in from the rest of AMA.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, even though you take down Relapse, coming in is only going to try to make a play.
Babyface trying to go for something. He's almost Rage Cell transforms into Mega Gnar. No, will it actually matter? That's actually Relapse doing so much damage with his bow, with Kolkata being such a great frontline, blocking off Karis from doing any damage. And this is going to be the game, as Babyface is the last to fall. No members falling for AMA. The kills are 12 to 24. And this is going to be the second game of this match onto AMA. It's going to end as a 1-1 today.
Living true to their name, AMA getting the retaliation. Retaliate! AMA Retaliate getting the win against University of Santo Tomas.
Not enough Garena shells to buy the latest League of Legends skin? On sale now? Get shells anytime, anywhere with your Globe or Touch mobile number. Go to gamer.com.ph and sign up with your mobile number and enter the verification code you will receive via SMS. Log in and choose the game and pin you want. Check out to purchase the pin with your load or through your postpaid account and receive the pin on your phone instantly. Never miss a sale on your favorite League of Legends skins and champions with Gamer.